Alright guys, what is up? This is your girl, Bothina1, bringing you another video. So today is going to be a little bit more off topic, kind of like something I just want to talk about, I guess get off my chest and whatnot. And a lot of people don't really know about this, and that is being a female in the engineering world. And although I haven't, graduated from college yet, but I definitely have some insights onto, how things are, being a female and whatnot in the engineering workforce and, just like in school and everything. So the first thing is being the minority. And for a lot of those who are males that are in this field, they don't understand, they don't get it. It's kind of just like, oh, well, whatever with it. But me being the minority, and only like, I think it's like 15 or 20%, usually when you go into a classroom, it's like maybe one or two other girls that are, a female like you. And it can be sometimes very intimidating. And what I mean by intimidating is that, a lot of times you go into a classroom and it's just you in there. There's nobody else. And sometimes too, one to talk to another person, I guess. Some people, they feel very awkward or, shy to reach out to guys because it has been, like I say, mathematically proven that, guys, they end up going in this major because they're very good in math and science. Where there's been quite a few articles that have said otherwise, that a lot of times females are actually better in math and science, but they typically don't continue doing it because of the stereotypes. And I had to do like a whole project on this. That's another reason why I know all about this. But basically, they stereotype of how girls, they play with Barbie dolls, they play with dolls, they play with, little like girly type things. Where males, they play with blocks, they build things, they play with cars. So a lot of time females, they'll be really good in math and science, but later on down the line, because they realize it's not the stereotypical field or stereotypical thing for them to go into, they end up leaving this field and doing something else, going into something else, when in all reality, not most, but it has been proven that females actually tend to test better in math and science than males do. So that's one fun fact. Another thing is, and this just goes for like overall in the engineering field as a whole, there's always like this thing I've seen, especially with a lot of professors, this excitement and enjoyment to see a different gender, I guess, a female in their field. So they're always like clobbering over you on your shoulder. They want to make sure you get the best help, the best of everything. Make sure you sit in the front row, which is nice. It's great, but sometimes it leads to a bit of like overwhelming, and it makes you stand out more. And what I mean by that is it makes, like, you're a female, so you already stand out more in this field to begin with, right? So then when you have a professor who's like, oh, I want, I really like that you're in this field, I really want you to try to succeed, this and that, it brings more attention to you. And for some girls, they like it, and for others, it makes them more shy and less likely to want to stay in the field. But my number one pet peeve, at least at my school, I mean, I've heard from other friends that it's kind of like this at other schools too, but at my school, the biggest thing that is one of my like just pet peeves is a lot of the professors that teach in, like the engineering fields, a lot of them don't really want to be in it. And what I mean by this, someone's probably thinking, what do you mean they don't want to be in it? They went to school for this, they got their degree in this, so why wouldn't they, be fine with teaching something that they genuinely love? You're wrong. A lot of people go into engineering thinking that, oh, because I'm gonna make all this money, I'm gonna have bank, I'm gonna, be able to make it rain, that, it's cool. So they get into the field, they get their degree, they grind out through college, they get the degree, and then they go into the actual workforce, and then they realize this is not what they want to do. They end up hating this. They want to change, and so a lot of time the only other, I guess you could say, outlook is to teach it. And a lot of them don't even like their major to begin with, or half of them are like a lot of engineers, like I said before, I think in my last video, a lot of time people that are in the engineering field, they know the material very well in their minds, but they have a hard time articulating it to other people or teaching it. So you have a lot of professors, especially at my school, that, these guys, they know what they're doing. They know the material, but they suck at teaching it. And I mean, you can go on things like Rate My Professor. You can go and read about a teacher, how bad they teach. There's classes are constantly getting curved. And for those of you who don't know, a curve is basically like, it's like that. It's like a bell shape, basically. So A curve is to try to bring the overall average of the class up. So if you have a hard class, like I don't know, like a mechanical ME2 something, like a hard mechanical class, right? That has a high failure rate, right? Okay, so as a professor, you do not want that to be your class. You don't want your class to have a high fail rate, because that makes you look bad and it makes the university look bad as well. Because think about it, if kids are failing this class, that means kids are more likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to get discouraged from that field. You're more likely to lose your job, because if they're failing your class, especially if it's like a prereq to a class or something else that they need, then that's a big problem. But besides that, a lot of them, they do curves. So basically, let's say the class average is like a D. Actually happens in the engineering field. Like a good GPA is considered a 2.5. A C is considered like excellent. Anything above a 2.5 is like awesome in engineering. So a lot of time with that being said, a lot of time they try to get their students at least in the C range so they can at least pass the class and move on. So basically they try to curve the class. So if most people in the class are doing badly, they have like D's or whatever, they'll try to curve the class so the people that are at the bottom, like not the bottom, but like this is like the line here. So the people that are at the lower part, which is most of the class, they try to boost them up, curve the class up so they have like around a C or something like that. And then you always have like the one or two kids that are like A and B students all the way at the top of the curve. So they get like 100% because the class is curved. But that's besides the point. But basically what I'm saying is that in a lot of engineering classes, they try to curve the class so people can pass. But at the same time, that's also kind of bad, because if you're curving the class, it's kind of like, that makes you think about it. Like people like doctors and stuff, like why people end up dying and stuff, because that person graduated off of a curve, not because they really knew the material, but because it was curved. I mean, that's just like a thought, I guess, that I've always thought about or whatever. But just being a female engineer also, well, I never experienced this, but I've had some friends that have experienced this, and kind of like sexism, I guess, what some people say. And for those who don't know what sexism is, it's basically like preferring another major over the other. So for instance, let's say you're building, I don't know, like a robot or something, just as an example. You're building a robot, right? And it's 4 guys and 1 girl. Obviously, that sounds about right in engineering field. 4 guys and 1 girl. So the teacher, I guess, let's say he picks for, I don't know, 4 of the students to do a harder part of building the robot and 1 student to build the easier part. So sexism could be like, oh, well, I prefer, the female to do the easier part because she's weaker, she's a female, and the males do the harder part. It's kind of like showing favoritism in one gender over the other, and that's a big thing that happens in the engineering field, as well as just the lack of communication. I've noticed that, especially like some of my friends who are female that are in my field. A lot of them, they talk about, and I've said this before too, a lot of them, they talk about how the guys, sometimes it's very hard to communicate with them, and it's not like they don't want to communicate. It's that it's hard for you to like ask them questions about like, oh, how did you do this problem? How did you do this? A lot of them are really like shy, and like it's hard for them to understand or like, I guess, communicate how they understand something. And that's like the biggest problem with like engineers and just the engineering major as a whole, is that so many people cannot communicate well. And that's a big part when it comes to like presentations. A lot of people don't know how to speak well. I mean, the internships, they don't know how to present themselves in a way that a person or a company would want to hire them as an intern. I mean, just little things like that. They have a hard time being able to articulate and speak well. Yeah, I hit the mic by accident. And speak well, just on topics, I mean, this rant, this has been going on, I think, long enough, but I'm just going to kind of wrap it up right here. But yeah, those are just some of the things, of being a female engineer that I've noticed, and, I just kind of wish they would change a little bit, or I don't know. But if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, as well as don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Bofina1, that's BOFINA1, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Bofina1. And don't forget to let me know what you think down below in the comment section. If you think that, there should be more females in engineering, major, do you think that the teachers should be better, or just if you knew nothing about it, I don't know, let me know what you guys think down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace and army.